Computex has come and gone. The Summer Games Fest is over. Nintendo had a direct. And all that leaves us with is rumors and tech news. Hello and welcome to A Slice of Pie, the monthly news show that we do on this channel. My name is Wolfie, and thank you for watching today. And if this is your first video, welcome to our corner of the internet. If it's not your first video, consider subscribing. And if you're already subscribed, I appreciate you. So let's get right into this. If you haven't watched this show before, this is my tech news-ish / update show. The first half of the show is going to be all about tech news, and then the back half is all going to be about just things going on, things I've got on my chest, things I'm working on, that kind of stuff. So let's get right into it. So the RTX 4060 is a thing, and I didn't think that it could get any worse. So it's even worse in value than the 4060 Ti, with performance that struggles to even beat the 3060 at times, and a price that makes it in direct competition to the 6700 XT. It has been labeled as one of the worst GPUs in years. It launched with an MSRP of $299, has 8 gigabytes of VRAM, and 8 individual PCIe lanes, much like the 3060 Ti, in fact. And it's facing stiff competition from both AMD and NVIDIA's past lineup. While it can beat the 7600 pretty easily, the two cards are very close in rasterized performance, and AMD also already dropped the price of the 7600 to just $249. It's definitely going to be a hard sell. And because these GPUs are within spitting distance, the 4060 has already seen some price cuts and sales. And if you look at sites like Newegg, it's 100% available all of the time. So yet another GPU that NVIDIA is banking on us buying specifically because of the new DLSS feature that allows it to generate its own frames. The 12-volt high power cable is going away for a new cable that fits into the exact same socket. Now, the new cable seems to be rated for higher temperatures, better amperage, and very similar specs from the past cable, but at the same time, the new cable should work with existing models and should avoid the burning problem, since now we've heard of a power supply that has had the issue. So it's not just the 4090s, it's some power supplies. Personally, I haven't really been too quick to jump on board for this one, mainly because I feel like the standard itself just needs to go through these growing pains where they respect things and make it work a little bit better. That being said, I do have a bit of a bone to pick with power supply manufacturers. Why is it that when you're making a 1000-watt power supply, you're making them with the 12-volt power connector and only 4 PCIe connectors? Like, well, PCIe / CPU motherboard headers. Because in reality, if I'm to build a high-end AMD system, I need 5 of those. I need 5 8-pins. I was not able to find it that easily. I could not buy a brand new power supply because one of those PCIe spots were taken up by a 12-volt high power connector. And yes, I can technically pigtail my GPU, but surprisingly, that affects the GPU more than you would think. So yeah, just have a bit of a bone to pick there, but the new connector hopefully will fix these issues, or at least be resistant to them. There's a story that's currently developing that looks like AMD is blocking DLSS. Now, game-sponsored titles are not a new thing. In fact, there was a lot of controversy with Hairworks back in the past because it ran so poorly on AMD GPUs. But there are some weird, kind of gray anti-consumer practices that do happen there. And the latest one was noticed by WCCF Tech. And they noticed in AMD-sponsored titles, DLSS seems to be missing in favor of FSR. Now, both Gamers Nexus and Hardware Unboxed have reached out to AMD for comment. They got a very vague response, and it currently looks like AMD is blocking DLSS. That being said, Gamers Nexus believes that DLSS will start showing up in these AMD-sponsored games as a way to silently fix the issue and then divert blame altogether, which probably is going to happen, or they're going to stick to their guns and have only FSR. Either way, it seems that all these games were made in Unreal, which, from my understanding, is literally a toggle switch when building the game to just enable DLSS and FSR. At the same time, that AMD and Bethesda have announced that Starfield is going to be an exclusive partner project with them, which means that Starfield is going to have FSR, but at the same time, we're probably not going to have DLSS. That being said, something that I'm actually now thinking from like a developer type of standpoint is that Bethesda is currently making games exclusively for Xbox, and Starfield is an exclusive to Xbox. The Xbox uses an AMD APU, and Bethesda's lazy. And Starfield's been in development forever. And isn't that also on their own engine? Yeah, that's gonna be a weird one. That one, I don't know if they could add DLSS easily too, just because Gamebryo or the creative engine is held together with toothpicks and matchsticks. I don't know how that one's going to pan out, but at the same time, the other games is a little weird. AMD also launched with one retailer, the Ryzen 5 5600X3D, a new X3D chip for AM4, and you can only buy it at Micro Center. I don't have any of those close to me at all, unfortunately. But that being said, it's a really good price. It's $229. And I mean, if you're really going to build an AM4 system right now, it's a good budget option. You got DDR4, which is cheaper. You have AM4, which is cheaper than AM5. Like, have you seen the price of motherboards right now? Like, I'm looking to spend like $450 on a motherboard, and that is a lot for features that I could get easily in a $200 motherboard from the last generation. Digressing a little bit, but you can get that. You can probably get a nice budget GPU and have a great 1440p 1080p gaming experience, just not if you're using a 4060. Now, there is no word on whether or not this CPU will be available outside of North America, but we'll find out. The CPU came about due to having bad yields of the 5800X3D. Now, this has been a year of gaming handhelds. We've got the Steam Deck, we've got the ROG Ally, we've got the Pimax Portal, we've got the Loki, and now GPT is making the GPT Win 4, which is probably going to be like Linus's absolute favorite one for a while because it's got a slide out keyboard. And yeah, I mean, it's a cool system. I'm sure it's going to be expensive because it's always expensive. That much mechanical engineering is not cheap, but they were one of the first in the space. So it's good to see that they haven't been scared off by all the competition. Intel is discontinuing the A770. Well, not really. There's a lot of misinformation around this story kind of just swirling about. And it's because nobody really digs deeper than the headline on this one. But Intel will be no longer making their limited edition version of the GPU that was supposed to be a limited edition. They are going to allow the AIBs to still make A770s, and it's probably in preparation for them to actually work on the next GPUs, which are set to launch next year. They'll probably be touring them around soon, so they're going to have new shrouds and stuff, and they probably want to get these old A770s out of there, because they're probably going to reuse the shroud design to make a limited run of the new version when it comes out. Cyberpunk 2077 will be discontinuing the minimum specifications that the game launched with. This is a weird one, but not unheard of. Cyberpunk's 2077 Phantom Liberty update will actually be cutting off the original minimum specs from the supported list. They have stated that they are focusing on newer hardware to provide a better experience. The biggest change seems to be that they are now recommending an SSD as opposed to a standard hard drive. Now, this is not unheard of. Forspoken also had the same requirement, but it wasn't really a hard requirement. And my SSHD combination thing seems to have worked in the past. So I'm not sure. I will have to test this when it comes out, since I am planning to play Phantom Liberty because, well, I played Cyberpunk 2077. And I might even play that on the second channel. I've been considering it, starting a new playthrough. I just don't know how I could play through Cyberpunk and record it without making the entire thing a Gaussian blur. It's just a really quick PSA. The Steam Summer Sale is on now, and so if you want to pick up Cyberpunk 2077, Witcher 3, and the like, they've got pretty decent prices. I actually picked up the 2 pieces of Witcher DLC myself during the sale, and like 7 games that I'm probably never going to play. And finally, I did talk about this a little bit in the intro, but Nintendo had a direct, and it was something. We could call this the year of the Mario games, because we are getting Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon on the Switch. a Princess Peach themed game that doesn't seem to be quite ready yet, Super Mario RPG, which I know has set the internet in an uproar of happiness, a new 2D Mario game called Mario Wonder, Pikmin 1, 2, and 4, Detective Pikachu 2, the Batman Arkham games, and the Metal Gear games are all coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now, my only comment for Nintendo is, do you know what you're doing? Like, first off, that's a lot of games. It's impressive. The Switch obviously isn't dying like everybody thought it was. But that new power-up, do you know what you have unleashed onto the world? Between that and the Tears of the Kingdom secret armor that you get for getting all the shrines, Nintendo, are you okay? Do you want to tell us something? Okay, that wraps up all of our tech news topics. It was a light bit of time for July, and that's because we had Computex, and that was like the chunk, and we covered Computex at the last show. So what's going on with us? Well, we didn't upload nearly as much as we do normally, I don't think, between these two. But that's going to change. I've got a lot of videos in production. I actually just wrapped on 5 videos, which is impressive for me. I don't generally do that many at a time. And I've got 5 videos that are in the scripting process and then another 5 in the funding process. And so like, I'm pretty much like, I'll be able to get through the summer without having to really like think about it, which is good because the summer can be a little bit, exhausting as a YouTuber. This is like the slowest point in the season. This is the time where people kind of like look to make changes to their channel and like start to change things, which is something we've started doing. In fact, that has been going over really, really well. The case video for the D31, which by the way, if you didn't know, there was actually a part of that name that I didn't even know because it wasn't on the box anywhere, but it's the Pinecone D31. Super weird case, but that video performed way better than I thought it would. It was a relatively unknown case manufacturer. I was taking a bit of a gamble with it in the first place. And then I also took extra time to like fit the GPU in and make sure that all worked and that it would all look good. And so as a video, watching it back, like I had a very good feeling. If I didn't have that product in hand, I would have been able to be like, okay, that is what that case is about. And I really am happy that I did that. Like, I'm really happy that I spent that extra time on it. It was only like recording wise, it was like an extra 15 minutes, but then editing wise, it cuts down to only a couple minutes in the video, and it changed that video from just being an unboxing video to actually being informative. And that to me was like the tipping point in the direction that I wanted to go. And then the SL120 video, that one ended up being like 23 minutes. But it's going over very, very well. It just picked up in views recently. It was only at like 100 something views, and then it just went up to like 300. I don't know if that was a bug or if all of a sudden it's being pushed, but I really do like the reception on that one. It doesn't seem like I got any real feedback on it, but at the same time, the like to dislike ratio is really good. And I personally have feedback. Like, there's a couple things that I should have done. Like, for one, I should have said what processor we were testing on. I did say what AIO we were on, and I should have said what GPU we had. Like, that is 2 complaints I have right there of my own video. And then another thing that I possibly should have done is actually had a microphone pointed directly at the case and just let you hear the sound of it at idle and at load. That might have been a good idea to add. And so I'm probably going to add those in on the next video, which I've already started planning, fortunately. I think I'm going to continue with SL120s, but there's a different SL120 that literally just came out that is their performance one. And their performance one uses LCP, which is liquid crystal polymer, much like Noctua's new fans. And they are supposed to be high performance fans. They have no RGB out of the box, but there is an RGB accessory, which we will also take a look at. But I really want to try those next. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. And then one of the videos that I'm scripting, and I'm just going to kind of like give you guys a little bit of sneak preview here. So the video started with me just trying to fix some hitching, and I ended up actually finding a much bigger issue than I thought to the point that I'm actually running my PC in a way that I haven't run it in years, but for a good reason. And so unfortunately, yeah, that's going to be a big video. I just want to take my time with it because of what the implications are. But let's just say I'm not going to be using cable extensions for the foreseeable future because of it. And then just some other small little things. We got a new lavalier microphone that will show up in our videos coming up soon. That thing sounds amazing. And I'm so much happier with the audio. And then also on our second channel, there's going to be a new model that's going to pop up real soon. And that model is the modernized version of the vampire character. So if you're not subscribed to that, that's a gaming channel where I don't actually use my face. I just use characters more for the sake of the people in my apartment so I can record like all the time. And also because that's a VR focused gaming channel. So having a virtual character who can literally step out of the screen and into the virtual space is actually really, it's a cool idea. I like it. So if you have any ideas on how I can improve, maybe leave a comment down below or any comments on the stories above. Please consider subscribing if you're not already. And I will see you in the next video. Wolfie, out.